All right, let's get into the example. So in this video, I'm going to go through the exact steps. So going through the steps of the define your idea that you can get in the description. It's free. So the first step is the describe your problem, define your problem. Second is finding your user that you're solving the problem for. The third is describing the user experience that they'll go through when they are in your app. And then the fourth is taking that user experience and actually putting screens to it, functions, features, buttons, whatever. Very simple. So now I'm going to get into a simple example of walking through all of this. So, as I said, the first part of the define your idea framework is the describe business problem. So for this example, my business problem is that I have a hobbyist who wants to keep track of all of the things that they've learned every day or whatever they log into the app or go into the app. So my problem is that hobbyist needs a digitized way to track new learnings. Okay, so we have our problem. The next piece is our user. Our user is a hobbyist, but more specifically, if I were to close my eyes and picture the person opening up this new app, how would I imagine them? Let's see. So they just got done going to, I don't know, a class, and the class was on how to 3D print. And then now they're so interested, they're like, oh my gosh, they're curious minded. Let's just write some descriptors here. So they're, goodness, curious minded, explorative. So they open the app and they went to the 3D printing class. They learned so many cool things. They're like, oh my God, I learned this new thing. It's so wonderful. Let me log it. So they are curious-minded, explorative. Okay. So let me get more specific. So what do they look like? I'll just say they're in the college student range. So I'll say that they're a college student who likes learning new things and likes to share with others. So the curious-minded, explorative, they're a college student and they want to share with others. Wonderful. Okay, so our problem is that a hobbyist needs a digitized way to track new learnings. So our user now is a curious-minded hobbyist who needs a digitized way to track, let's see, a college student, a hobbyist in college. So it's a hobbyist in college who enjoys tracking new learnings. Okay, so we have our user, we have the problem. Okay, so we have our problem, we have the user that we're going to help solve this problem. So next part is the experience. So once this hobbyist goes onto the app, what are they doing? So now we have the experience. Okay. So this hobbyist in college who enjoys tracking new learnings, they open the app. Let me do hobbyist opens the app. Okay. Next part, once the hobbyist opens the app, the hobbyist sees a list of learnings, or they could just see a number. The number, maybe they are more analytical and they prefer to see the number instead of seeing a list. So then you could also say another option is that they see the number of learnings over a period of time. So what that would look like, just so that you see what's in my mind. So when the hobbyist opens the app, they either see a list of learnings, something like that, or they have, let's just say it says this week, and then you have just a big old number right there, and it shows the number of learnings. For the sake of simplicity in knowing where I want to go, I will stick with just the list of learnings. Okay, so we're not going to choose this view for now. We're going to say sees a list of learnings. Okay, once the hobbyist sees a list of learnings, how do they feel? They're proud. I'll just put some more descriptors. They're proud, they're happy. Now they want to add a new list, they want to add a new learning. So they add new learning. And I'll get into how to connect sees a list of learnings to getting to the add new learning screen. So add new learning. After they add the new learning, they input details about the learning. Okay, input details. Once they finish inputting the details, like a title, the date, whatever, then they save the details. And then maybe they're redirected back to the home screen. So far, the hobbyist opens the app. They see a list of learnings, they're proud, they're happy. They want to add, so they've taken this 3D printing class, now they want to add a new one. So they, from the list learning screen, they tap something and it goes to the add new learning screen. Then from there, they input the details about the learning, they save those details and are routed back to the home screen. This is one route that they could go. Another route they could go is if they wanted to view the details of that new learning that they added. So they're redirected back, after they save the details, they're redirected back to the home screen. So redirect back to home. Once they go back home, they want to view the learning. So they want to view learning. So then they tap on something or click on something, depending on, they can either click on something, tap on something. It really depends on if you're doing a web application, a mobile application, whatever it is. So in this case, I'll just say tap. So they tap the learning and then it takes them to the view details screen. And then if they want to go back to the home screen, they would click or tap back, and then to get to home. Okay. So I have this list. So going back to the top. So our problem is that a hobbyist needs a digitized way to track new learnings. Okay. Our user is a hobbyist in college who enjoys tracking new learnings and sharing them. I'll just stick with this one for now. So a hobbyist in college who enjoys tracking new learnings. Fabulous. Next is the experience. The hobbyist opens the app. They see a list of learnings, they're proud, they're happy. They want to take the new learning that they have most recently with the 3D printing, and they want to add it. So they tap something to add a new learning. Then they input details about that learning. This could be the name or the title, the date, a category. Then they press a button that saves the details. Then they're redirected back home. Now, if they want to view the learning that they just saw, they would tap the learning, so it's somewhere on the list screen, and then they view the details, another screen. And then they tap a button to get back home. So from this experience, we take the actions from this experience, and then we use it to list out our screens, our functions, features, and buttons. I already said a lot of it with like saying screens and buttons and already, but I'll show it now. So the first part, hobbyist opens the app. So this, when they open the app, are they going straight to the home screen? Do they have to log in? So say that they're a new user. They're opening your app for the first time. Do they have to sign up? Do they go straight to the home screen? In this case, we're doing a simple example, so we're not going to have any login, no sign up. So when they open the app, it goes straight to the home screen. So I'll make a note or structure. Okay, so we're going to take these pieces. So opens the app. Okay, once the hobbyist opens app, you're on a home screen. Okay, now that they're on the home screen, which it can be the same, the screens can have multiple roles. So the home screen and the list screen can be the same thing. So opens the app. They're redirected to the home screen. Okay, they see a list of learnings. They're proud, they're happy. So sees a list. Sees list. So this is another screen. And by another screen, I mean this is a screen that you'll need so that they'll see the list of learnings. So it's a list screen. And soon you can decide if you want your home screen and your list screen to be the same thing or if you want them to be separate. But in this case, my home screen and my list screen are going to be the same thing. So let me cross some things. I definitely said I was going to do this in blue. So they open the app, they see the list of learnings. Now they add new learnings. So on the list screen, they need to be able to get to the add new. So add new. So this is another screen. Well, it's to get from sees a list to add new screen, there needs to be a button of some sort. So so they see the list, tap some, let me just put a okay. So they add new. So this is a add screen. Okay. So add new learning. Input details. So on the add new, there should be a form. And on the form, there are some fields that could be the title, the date of when you had the learning. Maybe there's media. In this case, for the MVP, won't add any media, it'll just be straight text. So you have the date, the title, the date, and then maybe a category. So on the add new screen, we have a form. And on that form, we have some fields. Okay, so we inputted details. Next, save the details. So to save the details, we need to tap some button on the add new screen. So just to make a visual, so we have our add screen. And on the add screen, we have the title here. We have maybe a little calendar for the date. And then here at the bottom, there's a save button. And it doesn't have to look just like this. It can look different, where there's maybe, instead of a save button here at the bottom, there's a button here at the top that has a check mark. Either way, there's a button that saves the form details. So from the form, there is a button that saves details. Okay. Then once they save, they need to go back home. So once they save the details, they go back home. Okay, now we're on the home screen again. Great. Now I want to view the learning. If I want to view the learning, I need a details screen. So view learning. I feel like it should be a little bit thicker. View the learning. Okay, so this is a details screen. Okay. So they want to view the learning, so they have a view learning details screen. They tap the learning from the home screen or the list screen, and then they're redirected to that details screen. So I can check off all of these because they're essentially all the same thing. And then from the details screen, I need to get back home. So tap back to get home. So on the details screen, there's a back button, or maybe there's a navigation bar that takes you back home. It's just something. So we'll put button back. Okay. So we have our structure. We have essentially 3 screens because my home screen and my list screen are going to be the same thing. I'll put screens. So we have list, which is also home. We have the add, new, and then we have our details. Okay, so we have 3 main screens. Fabulous. Now, I find it helpful to sort of sketch it out. So we know we have 3 screens. So screen number 1 is the list. Screen number 2 is the add. And then our last screen is the details screen. Okay, so we have our 3 screens. So maybe our list screen looks like this, where there's cards with the learning details on them. Okay, and then for them to get from list to add, there needs to be some button on the list screen. So for simplicity, I'll just add a navigation bar with, we have the home button and then a plus button. So when the hobbyist taps on this plus button to indicate add, they are redirected to the add screen. And on the add screen, we said it's a form. So they have a title, a date, and a category. And then a save button. So on the add screen, we have our form. So we have our title, which is going to be some field. We have the date, which maybe they have a calendar picker. Then we have the category, where it can be pre-selected, where there's like hard-coded buttons, or it can be freeform where they add their own. And then we need that button. So to save, I'll just add a button that says save at the bottom of our ad screen. Okay. Now, once the user fills out this information and they tap or click on save, it could take them to the details, or it could take them back to the list screen. So in this case, we'll just say, once the user taps save, they're back to the list screen. Okay, so these two are connected. Now let's see about the detail screen. So I said in the user experience that once the user taps on, say, this first box, they're taken to the detail screen. So for simplicity, just because it's here at the bottom, so if the user taps on this, they are directed to the detail screen. And on that detail screen, it has to already have pre-filled information. So the difference between the ad screen and the detail screen is that the ad screen has blank fields. On the detail screen, it should be read-only. You shouldn't be able to make changes to the detail screen specifically. So we have our title, which is just text. We have our date, which is just text. And we have our category, which is just text. We don't have a save button here, but we need to know how to get back to another screen from the detail screen. So you can add a back button if you wanted to, or you could have that navigation bar at the bottom where they are able to go back to the list screen, because you don't want a user to get stuck. You don't want them to come out of your app because they don't know how to get back to where they want to go. So from a detail screen, if the user presses the back button or they press the home button, they'll get back to the list screen. Okay, so now we're all connected. It's not to say that every single page will be connected to every single page, but in this case, they're connected. Now, if you wanted to connect the ad to the details, you could, but in this case, I'm not going to. Okay, now we have our structure. We have some basic wireframes. Wireframes are just a sketch. It's just a sketch of how your screens would look, and then the paths of what happens if the user presses this button versus when the user presses this other button. Where does that button take you? Okay, sees the list. They press some button. That button is this little card. No, I'm sorry. Which one is this? See the list. Oh yeah, okay. So I was saying they're on the home screen, and if they want to add a new entry, they press the plus button, and then it takes them to the ad screen. So this is the example for the define your idea process. We have defined our business problem. We've defined our business problem, which is to help hobbyists find a digitized way to track new learnings. We have our user, who is a hobbyist in college who enjoys tracking those new learnings. We went through our experience, very basic, and then we took our experience and then we put it into screens, features, functions, and buttons. And then we took that structure and we broke it down even more into specific parts. So we have screens. You could have another header that's buttons. And you can literally list these out. So very, very simple. 3 main screens. We kept it simplistic. It doesn't have to be this complex thing. I know this is a simpler example, but I think this could help you get started. So from here, now that we have our screens, our functions, features, and some buttons, we have the basic idea of what our app does, who is it for, what screens we need. This is the absolute minimum. This is our MVP, the minimum. From here, a lot of people will skip this step, but it's to go to the architecture phase. And I know architecture may sound very scary, 100% get it. But in this case, it's going to be a simple process where we just go through each of these screens and the functionality for the screens, and we say, okay, and we're going to use AI to do this. So if the AI builds me this list screen, I want to make sure that every decision goes by me first before it's built. So say that before, if I wanted this list screen made, I could say to the AI, build me a list screen, and say that you've already prompted what the app is going to be, whatever. Now you're going into your list screen and you're saying, build me a list screen with a home button and a add new button. You've given the AI all of the decisions, and you won't necessarily know what the heck it's really doing behind the scenes. Now, you don't have to know it specifically, but you definitely should know at a high level. So that's what the next part is about. So I hope this was helpful, at least in breaking down your own idea, and I'll see you in the next one.